Coffee and its effects. What coffee lovers need to know. Did you know your morning cup of coffee could be influencing more than just your energy levels? From impacting blood sugar to influencing stress hormones, the science behind coffee's effect on your body is surprising, and understanding it can help you make smarter health. Coffee is more than just a daily ritual. It's a beverage that interacts with your metabolism, stress levels, and even your risk of type 2 diabetes. In this audiobook, we'll explore the latest scientific insights into how coffee affects your health. Whether you drink it black or with milk and sweeteners, what you add to your coffee and when you drink it can have significant consequences for your glucose levels, insulin response, and overall well-being. Tune in to discover practical tips on how to enjoy coffee while minimizing its potential downsides. Focus points. Coffee and type 2 diabetes risk. Coffee's potential to reduce the risk of type 2 diabetes by improving fat metabolism in the liver and lowering mitochondrial stress in pancreatic beta cells. Coffee, stress, and glucose. How coffee can trigger stress hormones, leading to small glucose spikes in some individuals, and how this reaction can vary based on circumstances like giving a presentation or consuming coffee on an empty stomach. Coffee and insulin spikes. The impact of drinking coffee before breakfast versus after, especially for those who are sleep-deprived, and how this affects glucose and insulin spikes. Sugar and sweeteners. Why adding sugar to your coffee introduces glucose spikes, and how alternatives like stevia or monk fruit can help you avoid these spikes while still enjoying your coffee's sweetness. Milk choices. The pros and cons of different milk options. Why oat milk can lead to significant glucose spikes, and how nut milks and whole milk provide better choices for maintaining steady glucose levels. Learning outcomes. Understand the connection between coffee consumption and type 2 diabetes prevention. Recognize how stress and glucose levels are affected by coffee in different situations. Learn why drinking coffee post-breakfast can significantly reduce glucose and insulin spikes. Discover the impact of adding sugar and alternative sweeteners to coffee. Identify the best milk options for coffee to help maintain stable glucose levels. This audiobook will help you navigate your coffee habits with science-backed tips, ensuring you enjoy your cup while maintaining optimal health. Focus point 1. Coffee and type 2 diabetes risk. Coffee has long been celebrated for its stimulating effects, but recent scientific research highlights another significant benefit: a reduced risk of developing type 2 diabetes. This connection is primarily attributed to coffee's ability to improve fat metabolism in the liver and reduce mitochondrial stress in pancreatic beta cells, which are responsible for insulin production. The role of coffee in fat metabolism. One of the key factors in the development of type 2 diabetes is the accumulation of fat in the liver, which contributes to insulin resistance. Insulin is a hormone responsible for regulating blood sugar levels, and when the liver becomes resistant to its effects, glucose builds up in the bloodstream, leading to diabetes. Coffee, rich in bioactive compounds like chlorogenic acids and caffeine, has been shown to promote fat burning in the liver. This enhanced fat metabolism helps reduce liver fat deposits, improving the liver's sensitivity to insulin. A study conducted by Harvard School of Public Health found that individuals who consumed 3 to 5 cups of coffee per day had a 25% lower risk of developing type 2 diabetes compared to non-drinkers. This is partly due to coffee's role in breaking down fatty acids and improving the liver's overall metabolic function. By reducing liver fat, coffee contributes to better insulin regulation, lowering the chances of glucose buildup and insulin resistance. Lowering mitochondrial stress in pancreatic beta cells. The pancreas plays a crucial role in regulating blood sugar levels by producing insulin through its beta cells. However, prolonged exposure to high-fat diets or persistent glucose imbalances can place immense stress on these cells, leading to their dysfunction. This is where coffee's protective effects come into play. Studies indicate that coffee reduces oxidative stress in pancreatic beta cells by improving mitochondrial function. Mitochondria are the energy-producing components of cells, but they can become overburdened when faced with excessive metabolic demand, leading to cellular damage. Coffee's antioxidant properties help neutralize harmful free radicals, alleviating oxidative stress and preserving the function of pancreatic beta cells. This cellular protection is particularly significant because healthy beta cells are essential for maintaining proper insulin production. By reducing mitochondrial stress, coffee helps ensure that beta cells remain efficient in producing insulin, which is crucial for preventing the onset of type 2 diabetes. Real-world impact and case studies. The benefits of coffee on diabetes prevention are not merely theoretical. In a comprehensive review published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition, researchers examined data from 28 studies involving over 1 million participants across multiple countries. The findings revealed a consistent association between higher coffee consumption and a reduced risk of type 2 diabetes, regardless of factors such as age, gender, or geographic location. Furthermore, the case of Finland, one of the world's largest coffee-consuming nations, offers a striking example. Despite high levels of coffee consumption, Finland has relatively low rates of type 2 diabetes compared to other Western countries. Finnish researchers attribute this to the protective effects of coffee, which they believe plays a crucial role in reducing the nation's diabetes burden. Thought-provoking insights. The relationship between coffee and diabetes prevention highlights an important lesson in the balance of diet and lifestyle choices. As the ancient Roman physician Galen once observed, the greatest wealth is health. Coffee, when consumed mindfully, can contribute to long-term health by supporting metabolic processes that protect against diseases like type 2 diabetes. However, it is important to remember that coffee is most beneficial when paired with a balanced diet and an active lifestyle, reinforcing the age-old wisdom that no single food or beverage can compensate for poor health habits. Recommendations for reducing type 2 diabetes risk with coffee. Moderate coffee consumption. Aim for 3 to 5 cups of coffee per day to maximize the protective benefits while minimizing potential downsides like jitteriness or sleep disruption. Avoid sugary additives. To truly harness the benefits of coffee, avoid adding sugar or high-fat creamers, which can negate its positive effects on glucose regulation. Pair coffee with a balanced diet. Coffee works best in conjunction with a healthy, balanced diet that includes lean proteins, healthy fats, and plenty of fiber to support overall metabolic health. Consider decaffeinated coffee. If caffeine sensitivity is a concern, decaffeinated coffee offers similar protective effects against type 2 diabetes, thanks to its bioactive compounds like chlorogenic acids. By making coffee part of a well-rounded, healthy lifestyle, individuals can not only enjoy their favorite brew, but also potentially reduce their risk of developing type 2 diabetes. Focus point 2: coffee, stress, and glucose. While coffee is widely recognized for its stimulating effects and metabolic benefits, it can also trigger the body's stress response in certain individuals, leading to fluctuations in glucose levels. The connection between coffee, stress hormones, and glucose spikes is particularly important to understand, as it reveals how the same beverage can have different effects depending on a person's physiological state and circumstances, such as drinking coffee on an empty stomach or during a stressful situation. How coffee triggers stress hormones. Coffee, particularly its caffeine content, stimulates the central nervous system and activates the production of stress hormones, such as cortisol and adrenaline. These hormones are part of the body's fight-or-flight response, which prepares the body to deal with perceived threats by releasing stored glucose into the bloodstream for immediate energy. This process, while useful in genuine emergency situations, can lead to an unintended glucose spike when triggered by everyday activities, such as drinking coffee. For some individuals, this release of glucose can be minimal, causing little to no noticeable change in blood sugar levels. However, in others, particularly those sensitive to caffeine or under stress, coffee can elevate stress hormones to the point where glucose levels increase noticeably. A small but significant study published in Diabetes Care found that consuming caffeine before a meal resulted in a 16% increase in blood glucose levels in individuals with type 2 diabetes, compared to those who consumed a placebo. This suggests that coffee's impact on stress hormones and glucose regulation can be pronounced in susceptible populations. The role of circumstance, stressful situations, and empty stomachs. The relationship between coffee, stress, and glucose spikes becomes more apparent in specific circumstances. One such situation is when coffee is consumed before a stressful event, such as giving a presentation, a job interview, or engaging in public speaking. During these high-pressure moments, the body is already primed to release stress hormones like cortisol. Adding coffee into the mix can amplify this response, causing an even greater release of glucose into the bloodstream. Consider the case of a business professional who drinks coffee on the way to a major presentation. As they begin to feel the normal jitters associated with caffeine, their stress levels naturally increase, further stimulating the release of cortisol. In turn, this hormonal surge prompts the liver to release more glucose into the bloodstream, resulting in an unintentional glucose spike. This can leave the person feeling more anxious or jittery, contributing to a cycle of stress and elevated blood sugar that may interfere with their performance. Drinking coffee on an empty stomach is another factor that can exacerbate the stress-glucose response. When no food is present to slow the absorption of caffeine, its effects can hit more rapidly and intensely. This quick absorption increases the likelihood of an immediate stress response, leading to a spike in glucose levels. A study in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition demonstrated that individuals who consumed coffee without food experienced a more pronounced increase in both cortisol and blood glucose, compared to those who consumed it alongside a meal. The presence of food acts as a buffer, moderating the body's hormonal response and preventing sharp fluctuations in glucose. Real-world implications. The varying effects of coffee on stress and glucose can be observed in different cultural contexts. In Mediterranean countries, for instance, coffee is often consumed in moderation, typically after meals, which helps reduce the likelihood of glucose spikes. In contrast, in fast-paced cultures like those in the U.S., where coffee is often consumed quickly and on the go, frequently on an empty stomach, the risk of stress-induced glucose fluctuations is higher. Anecdotal evidence from professionals who rely on coffee for mental alertness in high-stress environments, such as lawyers or journalists, often reveals that drinking coffee during intense work periods can lead to a jittery feeling, decreased focus, and unsteady energy levels. This experience aligns with the understanding that coffee, when consumed in conjunction with stress, can inadvertently cause glucose spikes and diminish its intended benefits of improved concentration and alertness. Insights into the mind-body connection. The intricate relationship between coffee, stress, and glucose underscores the powerful interplay between the mind and body. As the philosopher Lao Tzu aptly stated, "He who conquers others is strong. He who conquers himself is mighty." Learning how coffee interacts with individual stress levels and glucose regulation empowers people to make mindful choices, turning their favorite beverage into an ally rather than a potential disruptor of metabolic health. Recommendations for managing coffee-induced glucose spikes. Time your coffee wisely. Avoid drinking coffee on an empty stomach. Instead, pair it with a balanced meal or consume it after breakfast to mitigate its impact on glucose levels. Be mindful of stress. If you're preparing for a stressful event, limit or delay coffee consumption to prevent an unnecessary increase in stress hormones and glucose levels. Monitor your response. Pay attention to how your body reacts to coffee, especially in stressful situations. If you notice feelings of jitteriness or anxiety, consider reducing your intake or switching to decaffeinated options. Combine coffee with relaxation techniques. Practices like deep breathing or mindfulness can help counterbalance the stress-inducing effects of caffeine, keeping cortisol levels in check. By understanding and managing the interplay between coffee, stress, and glucose, individuals can enjoy the stimulating benefits of coffee without compromising their metabolic health. Focus point 3. Coffee and insulin spikes. Drinking coffee, especially on an empty stomach, can have a marked effect on glucose and insulin regulation. This relationship becomes particularly important for those who are sleep-deprived, as coffee consumed before breakfast can exacerbate glucose and insulin spikes. Recent research has highlighted the timing of coffee consumption as a key factor in how the body responds metabolically, shedding light on how the same beverage can have varying effects depending on when it's consumed. The impact of drinking coffee before breakfast. When coffee is consumed first thing in the morning, especially on an empty stomach, the body is in a fasted state. This means that the body is more sensitive to the effects of caffeine and any other compounds introduced during this period. Drinking coffee before breakfast can trigger an acute rise in glucose and insulin levels due to several factors. A key mechanism lies in how coffee interacts with cortisol, the hormone responsible for waking us up and mobilizing energy in the early hours of the day. Cortisol naturally peaks in the morning, and when coffee is introduced before food, it can amplify the stress response. This heightened cortisol surge leads to increased glucose production by the liver, pushing glucose into the bloodstream. As a result, the body compensates by releasing more insulin to manage this sudden spike in glucose. A notable study published in the British Journal of Nutrition found that consuming coffee before breakfast led to a significant rise in post-meal glucose levels. The study compared individuals who drank coffee before breakfast with those who consumed it after eating. The group that had coffee before their meal experienced glucose levels that were 50% higher than those who had coffee post-breakfast. This suggests that consuming coffee on an empty stomach not only affects glucose levels immediately, but can also influence how the body processes food later in the morning. The amplified effect for sleep-deprived individuals. For individuals who are sleep-deprived, this response can be even more pronounced. Sleep deprivation is known to disrupt normal metabolic function, particularly in relation to glucose regulation. When sleep-deprived, the body's sensitivity to insulin decreases, meaning it becomes less efficient at managing glucose levels. In this state, consuming coffee before breakfast can exacerbate the body's struggle to maintain stable glucose levels, leading to more substantial spikes in both glucose and insulin. Consider the case of an office worker who only managed to get 5 hours of sleep before a busy day. They wake up feeling fatigued and reach for a cup of coffee before they even think about breakfast. Their already heightened cortisol levels, coupled with impaired insulin sensitivity from lack of sleep, make it more difficult for their body to manage the resulting glucose surge. Throughout the day, they might experience energy crashes and even increase hunger as their blood sugar fluctuates more than usual. Research has shown that sleep deprivation can increase insulin resistance by as much as 33% after just one night of poor sleep. When combined with the pre-breakfast coffee effect, this can make it especially challenging for the body to maintain balanced glucose and insulin levels, leading to a cycle of metabolic imbalance. Why coffee after breakfast is a better option. Drinking coffee after breakfast presents a markedly different metabolic outcome. When coffee is consumed alongside or after food, the presence of carbohydrates, proteins, and fats helps moderate the body's response to caffeine. Food slows the absorption of caffeine and buffers the body's stress response, leading to lower post-meal glucose spikes and reduced insulin demand. An interesting experiment conducted by researchers at the University of Bath demonstrated that when coffee was consumed after a balanced breakfast, glucose and insulin responses were far more stable compared to those who drank coffee before eating. The food acted as a cushion, allowing the body to process caffeine without triggering a large stress hormone or glucose spike. This is a critical insight for those looking to manage their energy levels, prevent insulin resistance, or improve metabolic health. This principle is also reflected in cultural practices where coffee is traditionally consumed after meals, such as in Italy or Greece. These societies have long associated coffee with the conclusion of a meal, which may explain the lower incidence of metabolic disorders like type 2 diabetes in regions where this habit is common. Insights into timing and health. The timing of coffee consumption offers a window into how seemingly small decisions can have large effects on health. As Benjamin Franklin once observed, by failing to prepare, you are preparing to fail. Drinking coffee before breakfast may seem like a simple morning habit, but its impact on the body's metabolic processes can have long-term implications, particularly for those already at risk for insulin resistance or glucose dysregulation. Recommendations for reducing coffee-induced insulin spikes. Drink coffee after breakfast. Ensure you have a balanced breakfast before consuming coffee to minimize glucose and insulin spikes. This allows your body to handle the caffeine more efficiently without causing a stress-induced glucose surge. Get enough sleep. Adequate rest is crucial for maintaining insulin sensitivity. Those who are sleep-deprived are more susceptible to glucose spikes from coffee, so improving sleep quality should be a priority. Combine coffee with a low glycemic meal. Pair your coffee with foods that are low on the glycemic index, such as eggs, avocado, or whole grains. These foods stabilize blood sugar levels and prevent sharp insulin responses. Monitor your body's response. Pay attention to how your body reacts to coffee under different conditions. If you notice jitteriness or large energy swings after drinking coffee before breakfast, try shifting to post-meal consumption. By understanding the effects of drinking coffee before and after meals, individuals can make informed choices to support healthier glucose and insulin responses, promoting long-term metabolic stability. Focus point 4. Sugar and sweeteners. Adding sugar to coffee may enhance its taste, but it can also have unintended metabolic consequences, particularly through glucose spikes. These spikes not only affect energy levels and mood, but can also have long-term impacts on metabolic health. Understanding how sugar interacts with coffee, as well as exploring alternative sweeteners like stevia or monk fruit, provides valuable insights into managing blood sugar while still enjoying a sweetened cup of coffee. The impact of sugar on glucose levels. When sugar is added to coffee, particularly when consumed on an empty stomach, it quickly enters the bloodstream, causing an immediate rise in blood glucose levels. This rapid influx of glucose prompts the pancreas to release insulin, a hormone that helps move glucose from the blood into the body's cells for energy or storage. The problem arises when this process leads to sharp peaks and valleys in blood sugar, commonly referred to as glucose spikes. A 2020 study published in Diabetes Care highlighted that consuming sugary drinks, including sweetened coffee, increases the risk of metabolic disorders such as type 2 diabetes. This risk is especially pronounced in individuals who consume sugar without pairing it with fiber, protein, or fat, which are known to slow glucose absorption. Drinking a sweetened coffee alone in the morning, when insulin sensitivity is already lower, can create conditions for a significant glucose spike, followed by an insulin crash, leading to fatigue, irritability, and increased hunger later in the day. For example, imagine an individual who begins their day with a coffee sweetened with 2 teaspoons of sugar, the equivalent of 8 grams. With no food to buffer the sugar, their body quickly absorbs the glucose, creating a surge in energy followed by a rapid decline. The insulin spike results in an energy crash, often prompting the desire for more food or caffeine, perpetuating a cycle of energy highs and lows throughout the day. Long term, these frequent glucose fluctuations can increase the risk of insulin resistance, where the body becomes less responsive to insulin. This condition is a precursor to type 2 diabetes and can be exacerbated by consistently consuming sugary beverages, particularly in the absence of balanced meals. Why stevia and monk fruit are superior alternatives. For those seeking to avoid glucose spikes without sacrificing the sweetness in their coffee, natural sugar substitutes like stevia and monk fruit provide an excellent alternative. Unlike sugar, these sweeteners have little to no effect on blood glucose levels. Stevia, derived from the leaves of the Stevia rebaudiana plant, has been used as a sweetener for centuries in South America. It contains compounds called steviol glycosides, which give it a sweetness hundreds of times stronger than sugar, but without the calories or glucose impact. Research published in the Journal of Nutritional Biochemistry in 2016 demonstrated that stevia does not raise blood sugar levels and may even improve insulin sensitivity in some individuals, making it an ideal option for people looking to manage their glucose response. Monk fruit, another natural sweetener, is derived from a small green melon native to southern China. Its sweetness comes from antioxidants called magrosides, which, like stevia, are much sweeter than sugar and have no caloric value. A 2011 study in the Journal of Agricultural and Food Chemistry showed that monk fruit not only avoids blood sugar spikes, but also has anti-inflammatory properties, offering additional health benefits beyond sweetness. An interesting aspect of using stevia and monk fruit is their ability to satisfy cravings for sweetness without activating the body's glucose response. Unlike artificial sweeteners like aspartame or sucralose, which may disrupt gut bacteria and potentially lead to glucose intolerance, these natural sweeteners have been found to be metabolically neutral. This characteristic makes them a safer, long-term option for those looking to enjoy sweetened beverages without the risks associated with sugar consumption. Cultural context and lifestyle adjustments. In many cultures, sweetened coffee has long been a staple, but the growing awareness of sugar's impact on health has prompted a shift. For example, in the Mediterranean diet, one of the world's healthiest diets, unsweetened coffee is often consumed alongside balanced meals, which mitigates the risk of glucose spikes. This approach not only supports metabolic health, but also aligns with the broader dietary emphasis on whole foods and low sugar intake. As consumers become more conscious of their sugar intake, more coffee shops and retailers are offering stevia or monk fruit-sweetened beverages. This trend reflects a broader understanding of the dangers of excess sugar and the importance of maintaining stable blood sugar levels throughout the day. Insights into glucose management. The broader principle here is summed up in the old adage, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Avoiding sugar-induced glucose spikes by switching to natural sweeteners like stevia or monk fruit can prevent metabolic imbalances that contribute to long-term health issues. While adding sugar to coffee may seem harmless, its cumulative impact on insulin sensitivity and glucose regulation can be significant, particularly for those already at risk for metabolic disorders. Recommendations for healthier coffee habits. Opt for natural sweeteners. Replace sugar with stevia or monk fruit to enjoy sweetness without the risk of glucose spikes. These alternatives allow you to maintain a balanced blood sugar level while still indulging your taste for sweet coffee. Be mindful of timing. If you must add sugar, consume your coffee after a balanced meal that includes fiber, protein, and fat. This will help buffer the glucose response, reducing the likelihood of a spike. Monitor your blood sugar. If you are concerned about your body's response to sweetened coffee, consider using a continuous glucose monitor, CGM, to track your blood sugar levels after consumption. This data can help you better understand how your body reacts to different sweeteners and make more informed choices. Limit added sugars. Reducing overall sugar intake is crucial for maintaining metabolic health. Be conscious of hidden sugars in other foods and beverages to avoid exceeding daily sugar recommendations. By choosing alternatives like stevia or monk fruit and being mindful of sugar's impact on glucose regulation, individuals can still enjoy their coffee while taking proactive steps to safeguard their metabolic health. This approach not only reduces the risk of glucose spikes, but also aligns with broader strategies for preventing long-term metabolic disorders like type 2 diabetes. Focus point 5. Milk choices. Milk is a common addition to coffee, but the type of milk you choose can significantly affect your blood sugar levels. From oat milk to nut milks and traditional dairy, the choice of milk can influence how your body metabolizes glucose, leading to either a smooth energy balance or disruptive glucose spikes. Understanding the pros and cons of different milk options is key to maintaining steady blood sugar levels throughout the day. Oat milk and glucose spikes. Oat milk has risen in popularity as a plant-based alternative to dairy, especially among vegans and those with lactose intolerance. However, oat milk presents a unique challenge when it comes to blood sugar regulation. Its high starch content, which breaks down into glucose during digestion, can lead to significant glucose spikes. In essence, oats are rich in carbohydrates, and even though oats themselves are considered healthy in whole form, processing them into milk strips away much of the fiber that normally slows down the absorption of carbohydrates. As a result, oat milk behaves more like a simple sugar in terms of how it affects blood sugar. A study from the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition highlighted that oat-based products can cause rapid increases in post-meal glucose, particularly when consumed without accompanying protein or fat to buffer the spike. This effect is especially problematic for those who consume coffee on an empty stomach in the morning, as the body is in a fasted state and more susceptible to insulin resistance. For example, a cup of oat milk in your morning coffee could lead to a rapid increase in glucose levels, followed by a sudden drop, resulting in fatigue and cravings for more sugar or carbs later in the day. Nut milks, a better alternative. In contrast, nut milks like almond, macadamia, and coconut milk offer a far superior option for those looking to avoid glucose spikes. These milks are typically low in carbohydrates and rich in healthy fats and proteins, which provide a more balanced and steady release of energy. Unsweetened nut milks, in particular, have a minimal effect on blood sugar levels, making them an excellent choice for maintaining metabolic stability. Almond milk, for example, is rich in vitamin E and contains almost no carbohydrates, which means it has little to no impact on glucose. A 2019 study in the Journal of Diabetes Research found that the fats and proteins in almond milk help slow the digestion of any accompanying carbohydrates, reducing the likelihood of a glucose spike when added to coffee. Coconut milk, which is higher in fat, also provides similar benefits. Its fat content helps slow the absorption of sugar, reducing insulin spikes. For individuals looking for creaminess in their coffee without the risk of glucose instability, unsweetened coconut milk offers a rich texture with metabolic benefits. Whole milk versus skim milk. When it comes to traditional dairy, the choice between whole milk and skim milk can also significantly impact glucose levels. Whole milk, with its higher fat content, is a better option for curbing glucose spikes compared to skim milk, which has had the fat removed. Fat slows the release of glucose into the bloodstream, preventing the sharp insulin responses often triggered by lower fat alternatives. A 2018 study published in The Lancet found that people who consumed full-fat dairy had a lower risk of developing type 2 diabetes, compared to those who consumed low-fat or skim dairy products. This protective effect is largely due to the fat content in whole milk, which helps regulate insulin sensitivity. In coffee, this means that choosing whole milk not only provides a richer flavor, but also contributes to more stable blood sugar levels throughout the day. On the other hand, skim milk lacks the fat necessary to buffer the absorption of carbohydrates, which can lead to quicker spikes in glucose. While it is lower in calories, skim milk may not be the best option for those looking to maintain stable blood sugar levels. The quick digestion of the sugars in skim milk can lead to an insulin spike, followed by a rapid drop in blood sugar, much like what happens when consuming sugary beverages. The broader implications of milk choices. In many cultures, milk is a vital part of the daily diet, often consumed in coffee, tea, or cereal. However, the shift toward plant-based alternatives has raised new questions about how these options affect metabolic health. While oat milk has become a trendy choice for many due to its taste and texture, it's essential to recognize its metabolic impact, especially for those managing blood sugar. Conversely, the rise of nut milks offers a healthier alternative for those looking to stabilize their glucose levels. These milks, particularly in unsweetened forms, provide a range of benefits, from heart-healthy fats to steady energy release. Choosing whole milk over skim further emphasizes the importance of fat in glucose regulation, showcasing how a seemingly small choice can have broader metabolic consequences. As the saying goes, small hinges swing big doors. The choice of milk in your coffee may seem trivial, but it can significantly influence your overall metabolic health. By opting for milks that support stable glucose levels, you can avoid the disruptive highs and lows that come with poor choices, leading to better energy management and long-term well-being. Recommendations for milk choices in coffee. Avoid oat milk for glucose stability. While oat milk is popular, its high starch content makes it unsuitable for those looking to avoid glucose spikes. Consider switching to nut milks or whole milk to maintain stable energy levels. Choose unsweetened nut milks. Almond, macadamia, and coconut milks provide the creaminess of dairy without the added sugar or carbohydrates. Opt for unsweetened versions to avoid hidden sugars that could lead to blood sugar fluctuations. Opt for whole milk over skim. If you prefer dairy, whole milk is a better option for managing glucose spikes due to its higher fat content. The fat helps slow glucose absorption, preventing insulin surges. Pair milk with food for better metabolic control. Whether you choose whole milk or nut milk, consuming it alongside a balanced meal that includes protein, fat, and fiber can further enhance glucose control and provide lasting energy throughout the day. By making informed decisions about the type of milk you add to your coffee, you can significantly improve your ability to manage blood sugar levels, supporting both short-term energy and long-term metabolic health. Conclusion: in this audiobook, we've explored the fascinating science behind coffee and how it interacts with your body. Let's quickly recap the key focus points. Coffee and type 2 diabetes. Coffee has the potential to reduce the risk of type 2 diabetes by improving fat metabolism and reducing stress in pancreatic beta cells. Coffee, stress, and glucose. In some people, coffee can trigger stress hormones that lead to small glucose spikes, especially when consumed on an empty stomach or during stressful moments. Coffee and insulin spikes. Drinking coffee before breakfast, particularly when sleep-deprived, can cause higher insulin and glucose spikes compared to drinking it after a meal. Sugar and sweeteners. Adding sugar to coffee leads to glucose spikes, but healthier alternatives like stevia or monk fruit can help you enjoy sweetness without the metabolic consequences. Milk choices. Oat milk can lead to glucose spikes due to its starch content, while nut milks and whole milk provide better options for keeping blood sugar levels stable. Practical recommendations. Timing matters. Enjoy your coffee after a healthy breakfast to minimize insulin spikes. Choose sweeteners wisely. Opt for stevia or monk fruit instead of sugar to avoid unnecessary glucose fluctuations. Mind your milk. Nut milks and whole milk are better choices for stable glucose levels, while oat milk should be consumed with caution. Listen to your body. If you notice stress-related glucose spikes after drinking coffee, consider reducing your intake during high-stress moments. Coffee is a beloved beverage enjoyed by millions worldwide. While it offers numerous benefits, excessive consumption can have some drawbacks. Here's what coffee lovers need to know. Potential side effects of excessive coffee consumption. Sleep disturbances. Caffeine is a stimulant, and excessive intake can interfere with sleep quality, leading to insomnia and daytime fatigue. Increased anxiety. Caffeine can exacerbate anxiety symptoms, making individuals feel jittery, nervous, or restless. Stomach acid production. Coffee can increase stomach acid production, potentially leading to heartburn or acid reflux. Dehydration. Caffeine has a diuretic effect, which can increase fluid loss and lead to dehydration. High blood pressure. Some studies suggest a possible link between excessive coffee consumption and elevated blood pressure. Addiction. Caffeine can be habit-forming and may lead to dependence or addiction. Tips for responsible coffee consumption. Limit daily intake. Experts recommend consuming no more than 400 milligrams of caffeine per day, which is equivalent to about 4 cups of brewed coffee. Avoid coffee before bedtime. Consuming coffee too late in the day can disrupt sleep patterns. Choose decaf or herbal tea. If you experience sleep issues or anxiety, consider switching to decaf or herbal tea. Monitor your caffeine intake. Pay attention to the amount of caffeine in your coffee, energy drinks, and other beverages. Stay hydrated. Drink plenty of water throughout the day to counteract the diuretic effect of caffeine. Address underlying conditions. If you experience significant side effects from coffee, consult your doctor to rule out any underlying health conditions. By being mindful of these potential side effects and practicing responsible consumption, you can enjoy your coffee without compromising your health and well-being. Reflecting on the topics covered, it's clear that something as simple as how you drink your coffee can have profound effects on your metabolic health. By applying these science-backed strategies, you can continue enjoying your daily brew while taking control of your health. Small changes, like adjusting your milk choice or switching sweeteners, can lead to significant long-term benefits. Thank you for your time and interest in this audiobook. Your engagement helps us bring more valuable content to the Media Dean community. If you found this audiobook helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with others who might benefit from this information. And remember, when it comes to improving your English skills, the more they listen, the better they speak. Keep listening Keep learning, and you'll see your language skills grow along with your knowledge. We look forward to seeing you in the next episode.